Hi guys, we are from Future News Italian magazine. We are here in Venice with the director of the film Blue Jean. The director is Georgia Oakley, right? Okay. Thanks very much, Georgia, for this opportunity. I would like starting with the first question, right? How did your passion to the world of cinema and when you decided to become a director?
When I was a teenager, I had a chance encounter on a film set. I didn't know anyone who was involved in filmmaking at that time. I hadn't had any exposure to the world of directing. But I spent a few weeks one summer working on a big film as basically an extra. And it was a big studio production in London. And it changed the way that I thought about life. And it was kind of interesting because there were so many young people involved in making that film in a similar capacity to me, and we all just got the bug for filmmaking that summer. I think there were 8 of us who were in this, we were playing nurses in this World War drama, the Second World War drama, and so many of those young people have now gone on to be costume designers, production designers, directors, actors. I think we were all just fascinated with how much went into creating a world. I was anyway, in terms of seeing the attention to detail. I was a real book lover as a kid, and I loved creating worlds in my own mind, but it was a new thing entirely for me to walk into this film set and see a world created from the ground up in a studio, and to believe it, to be there and to believe that where I was actually in a hospital in World War London.
And I asked you when you think that this, you said this is my work. You decide I'm sure that I'm a professional. I want to be a real director.
I mean, it was the same time as that, but I definitely went on a journey of not knowing if maybe I would work in production design or costume design. I just started at the bottom. I became a runner on film sets, and I think I always hoped that I might be able to direct, but it wasn't something that at that point there weren't many female directors who were in the public eye, and so I definitely hoped, but I hadn't seen enough of it to really...
Okay. Well, very interesting. And start discussion with the film Blue Jean. I want to ask you how was born the idea of this film, and what's the message you want to convey to the viewers?
So the film was born out of a desire from myself to explore certain themes, but I was looking for a framework that I could hang these themes off, and a sort of a world that I could research, and a timeline that already existed. And through the research that I did, I came across this law, Section 28, which I, to that point, had not been aware of. And when I discovered it, I had to think first about the huge effect that this law, Section 28, would have had on my own life, because I was at school during the time that this law was a thing in the UK. And so that was the starting point, really, was discovering that this was a law, and then imagining what that must have been like for teachers, particularly teachers whose jobs were concerned with bodies, physical education teachers and drama teachers. Their jobs are very different from a maths teacher standing at the front of a class. So I had that in mind, and I was also thinking about the story from the perspective of the student, because that would have been me, I would have been that age. Mm-hmm. And so I was thinking retrospectively about the effect this law had on my life, and through that, the story was born.
Okay, and I have a question. When you was young in the 1988.
I was born in 1988.
Ah, you was born in. Okay.
Yeah. But the law was a law from 1988 until 2003. So I was at school during the 90s and early 2000s, and it was still a law then. So when I say I was the student, I mean that this law was still in effect when I was at school.
Okay, good. And another question, how was working with the cast of the actors, and if there is a particular anecdote you want to tell us, or something special happened during or behind the scenes?
Sorry, how was it finding the actors, did you say?
Sorry?
How was it finding the actors, did you say?
In general.
Just working with the actors?
Yes. If there is a particular you want to talk about.
I mean, one thing that springs to mind was how interesting it was to have different generations of queer people on set with us. So we had the actors, but we had the younger generation of actors, and then we had the older actors, and then we had the women who inspired the story, the PE teachers whose lives inspired the story. They visited the set as well, so it felt like we were making a film, but we were also sharing experiences behind the scenes between those younger actors and the women of my generation, and then the women of the generation above who inspired the story and who were with us on set. So that was quite interesting, but also I think I was trying to create situations where the actors would be able to have an insight into what it was like to be gay in the 80s, which obviously, I was born in 88, but what we did was a lot of rehearsals and things like I took them to a local bar in costume, and we had been in the bar for this is in the north of England, we'd been in the bar for about 3 minutes, and we went to go and order a drink, and this man approached us and he started yelling in my face, "Are you a man or a woman?" And suddenly this group of drunk people descended on our table, and they were telling us to fuck off, and they were telling, it was awful. It was like this crazy homophobia that I hadn't really experienced in London for a long time. But so in terms of like getting an insight into the world for those actors to build on the character, we didn't have to look very far to show them what it might be like.
Okay, good. Last question. Venice is a great international showcase. Have you already been in Italy? And if so, do you like something of our bel paese? Do you know Italy is the beauty country for the beautiful? Do you know something like famous director Fellini or important? Do you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Italy has such a rich filmic landscape. I was looking yesterday at and it's the oldest film festival in the world. In fact, the film that I worked on when I was 17, that film opened the Venice Film Festival in 2008, maybe. It opened the Venice Film Festival, so I remember being involved in that film, my first ever experience with a film, and then that film opened the film festival, so I remember seeing pictures of the cast and crew on boats going to the premiere, and it seemed so sort of abstract to me at that moment in my life. So to be here now is incredibly surreal and very special. I've only been to Venice once before in my life when I was 12, so I felt like a child when we came out of the airport and got into a boat and just had a minute to kind of breathe and look around and realise that it is actually real.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure. Thanks a lot for the opportunity of this interview.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Pleasure talking